Hey, what's up, students? Now, check this out. So, this guy is saying, I didn't come here to shop, I came to sample, right? You've experienced this. You go to Costco, you go to Walmart, you go to BJ's, you taste those little samples, and, based on that little sample, when you think that it's good, then you would say, all right, the whole product is good, then I'll buy the whole thing. That is related to the lesson for today. Population and the sampling. The sampling will say something about the big population. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, so our whole unit is all about statistics. Have you heard of the word statistics? You know what? Some mathematicians are statisticians. They just focus on this and they get rich, okay? It is the practice or science of collecting and analyzing numerical data in large quantities, especially for the purpose of inferring proportions in a whole from those in representative sample. Now, this is a report on COVID, okay? I think it's the number of cases in the US, okay? That graph says something. Do you think they really studied or surveyed all of the population of the US? No. They could have probably gotten some samples to get the views of people, the experiences of people, and whatever generalizations they get, that would reflect the whole population. So that's the purpose of statistics. You make sense out of numbers. Numbers will say something. Numbers will speak out. Numbers can be written as graphs, as tables, pie charts. You've seen that, and it will tell a story. All right, two big words, population and sample. Population is the entire group, a big group. Okay? For example, here, teachers are planning a trip for the middle school. Okay? And that's the 500 students. That's my population. I want to know the views of these 500. 500 is the population. So I cannot ask all of them. So what do? I use a sample. It is a specific group that you will collect data from. The size of the sample is always less than the total size of the population. Okay, so let's talk about that. Oh, by the way, it's not always talking about people. You could, sample objects, events, organizations, countries, species, and organisms. Now, this is a specific example. As I said, I want to know what the views of the middle school. Okay, middle school made up of 500 students. Okay, probably the principal asked me, Ray Ram, where do you think would be the best place for the students to go for a trip? Okay, so I cannot just give my own views. I want to hear what the 500 students would say. But do I have time for that? No, ain't nobody got time for that. What else? I don't have the resources. I cannot ask each one. Okay, so what do? I take a sample. From here, I take a small group. Who will I get? Are these only my students? No, probably I'll get 5 to 10 kids per class. Okay, I'll get 10 kids from 701, 10 kids from 702, 10 kids from 601, 10 kids from 602, until I get 10 from each of this. And how do I select them? Are they only the boys? No, I take a random sample. It would have boys, it would have girls, it would have younger kids, different ethnicities. It's random, okay? And whatever, okay, from 5 to 10 from each class. Okay, and whatever the views of these students are, probably they decided at the end, probably I surveyed them or I asked them uh, an interview. So, and then at the end, the result was we will go to a theme park. Theme park. Okay, so at the end, I would tell my principal, you know what? They want to go to the park. Huh? Is it just the representative? Is it just the sample? No. Whatever conclusion I have for my sample will be applied to the population. So the principal would say, okay, so the whole middle school will go to the theme park. So I repeat, Now, my sample is good because it is not biased. Okay, what do we mean by that? Look at this population. Okay, there are different kinds of people in a group. There is diversity, right? Okay, look at the colors. The colors mean they are diverse. Okay, now the sample that I take should represent those colors. Look, from the blue people, whatever the characteristic of a blue, it could be gender, all right? And then the gray people is represented, the black people is represented, the brown people is represented. It's not just the ethnicity or the color of the skin, okay? It's a characteristic. It could be the gender, it could be the age, it could be ethnicity, it could be the language spoken. See, there is a representation, okay? Out of these six people, whatever was, generalized through them will be applied to the whole population. So I am not biased because what? One bias, a biased one is one in which some members of the population have a higher or lower sampling. Suppose I only chose the orange here, all the orange. So not everybody's representative. So if I do a variety like this, it's random, then this is unbiased. Unbiased. We don't want to be biased. Okay? Only your favorites. Only my math students. I won't do that. Now, reasons for sampling. Why do we need to do sampling? Why not interview the whole people so it's more reliable? No, because it's a necessity. Okay? Simply not possible to do the whole population. Practicality, it's easier, more efficient to collect data. I will not collect 1,000 or 1,000,000 data. I'll just get 100. Cost effectiveness. Okay, I don't need to print 1,000 papers for interview. No, only a fewer number of participants. Manageability, to store, to run statistics analysis of a smaller data is easier and reliable. See, it makes your life easier. Now, once I get the sample, what could I do? I survey the people. Okay, I collect data from them. Why do I collect data? So that I could gain information and insights. How do they do that? They may be answering a questionnaire online, or I could interview them face to face. See that? Interviews, questionnaires. You see that when the school sends you what? Google Forms. They want to get your information. All right, let's have some guided practice. A market researcher wants to know, market talks about, business, how to sell things, ho- how 18 to 25-year-old women spend their money. Okay? Which group would be a representative sample? Okay, let's start from the bottom. Will I interview 18 to 25-year-old women commuting to work? They're going to work. If they're going to work, are they spending money? Maybe just for transportation, right? And they're in a hurry. They might not have time for that. Women of all ages. No, I only like what? 18 to 25 is my population. I cannot ask all of those, the older one or the younger ones. No. 18 to 25 old men and women. Did it mention men a while ago? No, not men, women, not you. 18 to 25-year-old women at the mall. Are they spending money in the mall? Yes, they are spending money. And we want to know, what are you buying, right? What are you buying? So they're the perfect sample. So this is a best sample to know answers for my research. Okay, let's try some Ingenuity. A student government, let's read this. A student government wants to determine the theme for the 8th grade dance. Which group would be best to take a sample from? 8th grade dance. Take note. You need to underline keywords. So I gonna ask the student government. Like student government will be all of the grades, right? So I don't need to ask the a kinder representative or the sixth grade representative. No, I would take a sample from all the eighth grade students. I think that makes sense, right? Eighth grade students in the student government. What if they're not in the student government? Are they represented? No, not you. All the middle school students. No, I don't need the other grades. I only need the eighth grade, not you. So that's our correct answer. Next, let's read this. An employer asks a survey question. How much money do you spend on gasoline per week to get to work? So remember that. Let's underline that. This is the question. Okay, of who is being asked? The employees who drive to work, which best describes why she chose to only ask the employees that drive to work rather than all the employees, right? Why only those who drive and not all of them? Okay, let's start at the bottom. All employees were difficult to survey because the group was too large. Okay, possible. All employees were adequately represented by the sample that drives to work. No, there are people who do not work. So, do not drive. Not you. All employees that drive to work adequately represented the sample. No. The employees that drive to work were the target of her survey. Yes. That's the target of the survey. Therefore, they're the only ones I need to ask. I don't need to ask the others. Got it? Kristen wants to ask the managers of a fast food restaurant, the bosses of the fast food restaurant in a large city, how do you retain employees? Meaning, how come your workers stay with you, for a longer period of time? What conditions must be true to justify surveying only, okay, this is the sample he chose, a sample of managers instead of surveying the whole population of managers. Why only a sample of managers, not all of them? Okay? Because the population is small? No. Because the population is diverse? The population is not the target of the survey question. The population is expensive and time consuming to survey. All right. You cannot ask all of the managers all over the country. Okay? It's expensive to go to them and ask all of them. So that's the correct answer. All right. When is choosing a sample from a population least likely to be appropriate? Okay, what do we mean by that? Least likely to be appropriate. You don't need to make a sample. For example, you have a population of 1,000 of diverse things. You just need to take a sample of 100 and just ask them. Okay? So normally that's what we do. When not to do it? Okay, I don't need to take a sample. I don't need to do that. Let me just focus on this. All right, let me just focus on this. Number one, when the population is small. Yes, if I'm going to know the views of 10 students, my population is 10, so let me just ask them. That's good. When the population is large, obviously, if it's large, you need a sample. Need a sample. Okay. So not you. When the sample contains proportions of items that are different from those of the population. For example, I got a sample, all right? And I got a sample of, let's say, all women. But these are not all women. This is diverse. My sample is different from the population. That's not a good one. Don't do that. Okay? They should reflect. Remember, the sample should reflect the population. When the sample contains only items that reflect the population. Yeah, that's the perfect one. The sample reflects the population. Okay, so then you need the sample. Now, when surveying the entire population is time consuming. Yeah, you cannot interview 100,000 Therefore, you need the sample. You need it. You need it. So this is the least likely two answers. Okay, so did you get it? So remember, guys, results is equal to action plus motivation. Good luck.